So, last week we saw Ananias brilliantly take over that church of Alexandria and earn the nickname El Baba, the grandfather of the African church, which he passed on to his successors, the Coptic popes. We left with St. Kedron, the next El Baba, and how he would suffer under the general Roman persecutions. For the Coptic popes, the struggle was constantly uphill. All eyes were on the church, but St. Kedron set the example for his successors to follow. When the authorities asked him why he wouldn't sacrifice to the Roman gods, he answered that he had only Jesus and he would not bow to any other god. So they killed him. But his wonderful witness made all of Egypt think very highly of Christians than ever before. Kedron's successors were sometimes in complete peace, and sometimes there's terrible persecution. And it went on like this till St. Constantine ended the persecution once and for all. With that in mind, let's look instead at the institution Mark founded, the School of Alexandria, and these deans. So the church needed Justus, the first dean, to be El Baba when Kedron and all the others had been killed. So the next dean that he appointed was St. Eumenes. And like Justus, he gained this great reputation as a teacher, so that when Justus died, he became El Baba as well. So when he was El Baba, he organized the churches of Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Libya into the hierarchy that lasts to this day, with all its bishops and archbishops and so on. His successor as dean was called Marcion, because his actual name was Mark, but they think they'd get confused with the earlier Mark. So some people call him Mark II. He noticed that many people entering the school were trying to teach heresies, and he listened carefully for the kind of things they said that showed they didn't really have Jesus as the starting and ending point of everything they thought about. These were the heresies of Basilides, Carpocrates, and Valentine, the Gnostics, they were called. When Marcion became El Baba, he trained all the bishops that Eumenes ordained to recognize these signs of heresies and then to teach what was right instead. So the next dean was a man called Pantaenus. He was a Stoic from Sicily, and then he became the dean. He wasn't originally the dean of Mark's school, he was the dean of the Stoic school and was trying to take down Christianity in Mark's school. But, of course, inevitably, debating with these wonderful Christians, he became a Christian himself and then became the dean of the very school he was trying to shut down. So Pantaenus taught these wonderful saints, Clement of Alexandria and Serapion of Antioch, and these each became the greatest fighters against Gnosticism in Asia and Africa. Clement, in fact, he defeated Gnosticism in Africa and Europe. He got 2 continents. He was so amazing. So Pantaenus left the school in this amazing Christian's hand, and he decided to become a missionary to central India. He had heard that the Indians had philosophers called the Brahmins, and he knew that Jesus would be the answer to their false philosophies, just as it had been for his own false Greek philosophy. When he got there, he found he hadn't been the first. Bartholomew had gone before, and he'd left a copy of the Gospel according to St. Matthew, written by the man himself. The Indians were grateful to read Mark's Gospel, and many Brahmins abandoned their false philosophy and turned to Christ. So he left the school in Clement's hands and no doubt noticed Clement's up-and-coming pupil, Origen. And these were 2 of the greatest geniuses that the church has ever produced. But what they did is far too much for me to cover today. We'll have to look at that next week.